Hi there! Welcome to Cook Local, Eat Local, the podcast where you can find inspiration, tips, and recipes for enjoying more local food and drink. I am David Crowley, your host. In today's episode, we'll be talking to Alessandra Macaluso. She is an author, self-trained chef, mother, Qigong and Tai Chi instructor, and overall wellness advocate. Her work has been featured in several anthologies. These can all be found on her Amazon author page, and she has also contributed to a number of well-known publications. Hello, Alessandra. Welcome to Cook Local, Eat Local.
Hi, David. How are you?
Great. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a hectic week. I feel like that holiday rush is coming. We're recording this before one holiday, Thanksgiving, but folks will be listening to it as we are approaching winter in the various holidays associated with it. So kind of a little bit in that mode. It was nice. I had a few minutes to just do a little settling in because I was doing very different things the rest of the day. How about you?
Yes, same. Preparing for all the holiday stuff and, wanting to make sure that everything's in order, but also enjoy myself at the same time.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a balancing act. But as we get into, I know you probably have some techniques for that, maybe that keeping that balance. But we do want to hear a little bit about your background before we delve into some of your tips. So I think maybe first I'd love to hear, because this is kind of a cooking focused show, a little bit about your interest in cooking. And then I know we're going to talk a lot about seasonal eating and seasonality more generally, but just in cooking, are you a lifelong cook? Or, I mean, did you cook as a kid with family members, or is it a newer thing for you?
Yeah, I've always pretty much cooked. I'm the youngest in a very big family, so I'm the youngest of 6 kids. And we growing up, I don't know, that was kind of my role. I helped out a lot in the kitchen. So I'm very familiar with food, ingredients, and things. It was always just kind of a way of life. And I remember, my grandmother who was from Italy, and she didn't speak any English, but I remember her old pasta maker. I still have
Oh yeah,
her cranking out the fettuccine in the kitchen.
nice.
Yeah, so that was always something that I had. And then when I went on to like live outside of my childhood home, I was always the one that would entertain. So like my friends would
Okay.
be like, "Oh, what time is the bar?" And, "Oh, we're gonna go to the bar at like 9:30." And I'd be like, "But first come over for dinner." And I would have like food and always organizing like cook nights and things like that. So yeah, it's always been a passion.
Oh, that sounds very fun. Yeah, and that's a good idea before you go out on town. Even as a young person, good to have that meal in you before you hit the bar scene. Very good,
Yes.
good idea. Excellent. And then I know, of course, a lot of your work now, and what brought my attention to you and inviting you was your focus on both seasonal cooking and a broader lens on seasonality. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so my site it's kind of an old site. I started writing a long time ago, probably 2009, and the name of my site was Live for the Season because I've
Hmm.
always loved to kind of try to live in the season that you're in, There's that
Hmm.
old quote from Henry David Thoreau, and he says, live in each season as it passes, breathe the air, drink the drink, taste the
Hmm.
fruit. I've
Love
always
it.
so, and I love, not even outside of cooking, like I really love to like decorate the home for the season and
Hmm.
just kind of get all the senses involved. So, that's kind of where the seasonal part came in for me. And then it just felt very natural, as time went on, and then you start having your own children. So I have
Hmm.
2 kids, and after I had my kids when they were really young, I got even more into cooking, and I wanted to know like not just what I should feed them, because you go to the
Hmm.
nutrition and they hand you like a sheet of paper, like just start them out with rice and whatever. But I really wanted to know like not just what should I, but what can I feed them? So then I started like diving into herbs and spices and like what's
Hmm.
safe for babies and how early can they eat them and
Oh, okay.
that research. Yeah, and I loved that, and all that research spurred my cookbook, which is called What a Good Eater, and it's all
Oh,
about
okay.
like nutritious recipes for babies, toddlers, and families. Trying to keep it so
Oh.
you're not like cooking separate kind of thing.
Oh,
So
that I like that. That's a good idea. That could be a
yeah,
gift idea for people, including I have our son's probably beyond that little kid stage, but I have a young nephew that I could see that could be it. Could be
yeah.
fun.
I mean, so my kids now are older; they're 10 and 8, and they
Yeah,
still ask me for recipes, and I'm not even kidding. Like we regularly eat from that cookbook because
nice.
they've had that food from when they were younger and they love it. Um, But I think just bringing in the seasons and getting more into like, okay, so not only is it what's available, but also like just learning about how foods during each season are actually more nutritious when you eat them in the season that they're grown. And that to me
Hmm.
was fascinating. Um, so yeah, and fast forward a few years, um, I became very interested in Chinese medicine and I got certified in something called Qigong. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, but
Not super. I just that very basic. Yeah, maybe explain it a little bit for folks. That'd be interesting.
it's just a very basic, not basic, but it's just a very like a very meditative kind of way to eat and move, and it's all based on traditional Chinese medicine.
Hmm.
So Qigong in particular is about movement, but it's like I said, based a lot on food as well, and just like how to nourish your body on each season, and how to do that. So I got really interested in that.
Hmm.
And then my daughter actually was sick. My daughter Penelope, she was diagnosed with leukemia when she
Wow.
was just about to turn 7,
Ooh.
which was really obviously a very difficult time. And
Yeah.
like a really long treatment. They treatment is like 2.5 years for that.
Wow.
So I was very grateful that I had this passion kind of already as a foundation because
Hmm. Hmm.
it really helped me dive even deeper, like how to support her body through this
Yeah.
would be the best food. I felt like I had such a good foundation to just build upon. And it got me even more interested in nourishing the body, eating healthy,
Hmm.
like how to maximize that. So again, going back to like what to eat during each season and why that's good for you. And yeah, it just kind of kept spurring more recipes and more ideas. And here we are.
Yeah, that's great. I've heard of people kind of maybe almost like getting, for lack of a better term, a little bit of a wake up call with a serious illness, trying to reform their eating habits. I'm sure it works a lot better to have a knowledge base going in because it's obviously such a stressful situation to know you have kind of something solid as far as a knowledge base to offer and help take care of your family in that time.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's great. Great. Wow. So let's talk. We are as people that we'll be dropping this in early to mid-December with winter almost approaching. So I think we want to drill down a little into winter seasonal cooking and seasonality. Winter is not a yeah, I guess unless if you're not a skier, winter is probably not your favorite season. It's been a while since I've skied. So I have to confess it's not my favorite season. So help us out if the winter skeptics or people are like, oh, it's getting to be winter. How can we, with our cooking and just general approach to seasonality, lean into and enjoy winter?
Yeah. Oh gosh. How can we enjoy winter? Well, let's see. From
Without
a
moving to a warmer climate like you did. But
Yeah, right. I mean, even here, the one thing so we're in well, I'm in the Charlotte area. So
yeah,
technically it's South Carolina. It's like I'm literally sitting on the border.
yeah.
Um, we do get all 4 seasons here.
Okay.
So I personally love that. I like that, I don't think I could live somewhere, and this is just me. I don't think I could live somewhere where like it's always cold or always hot. I like to have
Right, right.
seasons. Um, so and the growing season is a little bit longer than it was up north. I'm from New York
Sure.
originally.
Yep.
So some areas still have farmers markets here. They're just
Nice.
obviously very limited. Um, but I also really just love talking with farmers. I love
Hmm.
learning about how they grow food. I love seeing their process. Really, I like obviously the farm to table movement. I like getting close with that. I've had CSA boxes over the years where you can like subscribe and get a box on your doorstep for anybody who may not know what it is. It's community supported agriculture. So
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
sign up for a box and it's like a box share. So it kind of makes it cost effective as well. And then they'll just deliver a box to your door from a local farm with all the ingredients. So that was helpful in learning what's good around the seasons. Winter in general is tough. Again, it depends where you live. So I would say from a food standpoint, like step one is to research your area.
Hmm.
You really have to research, right? You just go to Google, type in, seasonal foods in South Carolina or wherever you
Right.
are.
Yeah.
And that's like step one in showing you what's in season during that time of year. And then I like to when it comes to like meal planning, recipe planning, is I like to base what I'm doing around an ingredient.
Yeah.
So like for example, sweet potatoes. Potatoes are great for winter. So I might
Hmm.
decide, okay, how can I use a sweet potato? Maybe I eat chicken. So, you know, what's a good chicken dish that I can make with sweet potato? And then you'll get savory, kind of like crock pot or instant pot meals, stews, things like that are really, really good in winter because A, they're seasonal, and then B, for the body in general, that's kind of what your body craves and nourishes off of as well. So really looking to nature is a big cue, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I would
Yeah.
just add to that, even here in New England, where obviously it's colder, but we have a similar. It's not a traditional CSA. It's called Family Dinner. They like source from a bunch of farms, which more and more, you have places that are figuring out how to at least, obviously not everything, but things like microgreens or,
Yeah.
still producing some root vegetables, either in some kind of greenhouse environment or I forget what it's called, where they stack up the containers. It's like
Back
it's similar.
garden.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So definitely, it's surprising what that you can come up with as far as that's, still available. And there are, I think, probably most areas might have something like a CSA or winter farmers market, a little sparser than in the summer, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Now, when we were chatting before we started recording, you mentioned also kind of using herbs and spices. Like, do you evolve those with your cooking seasonally as well, or
Yeah. I love using herbs and spices. I feel like they are the accessories, of cooking. I don't feel like a meal is complete unless I add something to it. We eat with our eyes too. So visually they add such an enticing
mm-hmm,
element to the food, right? But also, there are so many good nourishing properties in these herbs and spices. So yeah, you can, I mean, and if anybody's listening and is like, oh gosh, like I don't garden or I live in a really cold climate, like there's nothing I can do. I just want to reiterate that there's so much we can do, even if it's like one small step. So, you
right?
mentioned tower gardens, David, and I think
Mm-hmm,
that that's such a good thing to remember because I almost even forgot about that. And I have a tower
yeah.
garden.
Oh,
You know,
nice.
but there are tower gardens that you can bring inside during
Mm-hmm,
the cold season.
yeah.
Just put it in a corner instead of having a plant. Put your tower garden there, and you can
Mm-hmm,
just add, a few rows of leafy greens, lettuce.
yeah. Nice.
And I mean, boom, there you go. Even if you can't, you may not be able to eat a whole meal off of that, but like just the act of, I think, getting closer to the food,
Yeah.
growing it yourself, touching it, if you have kids, letting them be involved with the process, the more we do that, the more we grow that piece of ourselves, the one that is interested in this, wants to eat healthy, maybe not sure where to start, but it all happens like in small baby steps. So to your point
Yeah.
about the herbs, it's such an easy, simple thing to do to grow a very small herb garden in a covered porch or on your windowsill. Just
Mm-hmm,
a very small planter with maybe like some rosemary, some thyme, and some sage. That's
yeah.
it. And then if you make, even if you just make like a simple out of the box pasta, slice
Mm-hmm,
up a few sage leaves, sprinkle them on top, see how you like it, and you're not only getting nutritional benefit from it, but you're again kind of like growing that part of you that is open to healthier eating.
yeah. And all three of those that you mentioned, I think sage, rosemary, and thyme, I definitely associate with winter. I don't know why, but they
Yeah.
kind of have a savory vibe to them, or it seems like. Yeah, nice. Um, you mentioned one example of putting some chicken on the plate with sweet potatoes. Any other favorite dishes to recommend, perhaps that you might have a recipe for, even that you'd like to tantalize us with? That really is a good thing to prepare in the winter.
Yeah, sure. So again, winter is like so good for hearty kind of meals. So we just made the other night a pumpkin bolognese
Oh,
over
oh,
pasta.
yeah,
And it was soup. I know it sounds like fancy, like bolognese sounds like a word, but
yeah.
it's really easy and you make most of it in one pot. You
Oh,
know,
nice.
only I use a second pot to boil pasta itself, but like the bolognese sauce, you just we use ground beef, local
Mm-hmm,
ground beef from the farmer's market, which is another
mm-hmm,
tip. Like I would always get meats from the farmer's market as well, and then
right.
freeze them, keep them in your
Yeah.
freezer, and then you have a great base for your dishes all winter. Um, but you make the bowl, you brown the beef in a pot, and then you add in your veggies. So you can add, sweet potatoes, you can add celery, carrots,
Hmm.
onion, brown all that, and it smells so good in the kitchen when you're cooking all.
Yeah.
And then you can add back in the beef to the pot. And then we added some pureed pumpkin,
Oh,
just
okay. Yeah.
literally dumped a can of pumpkin puree right into that bowl.
Yeah.
Add some herbs and spices, and I added some coconut milk. We try to do dairy free because my son
Okay.
has sensitivities, and me
Yep.
too. So
Yeah.
we thickened it up with some coconut milk, and then you just put the
Hmm.
cover on it, and you let that simmer for an hour if you want, at
Yeah.
least half an hour to let the flavors marry, but you can
Right.
let that
Right.
go for an hour, hour and 15 minutes. And then when you're done, just pour that on top of pasta. And it's such like a hearty, nourishing meal that's like one pot, super easy. And that's one of the meals that like everyone in our family was like, give me more, can I
Oh,
have some?
yeah.
Like gold, right? Especially if you have kids. Like no one ever likes
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
perfect. That sounds so delicious. Now, would your Italian grandmother approve of all those vegetables going in
I
with
think
the gravy?
right. Like what is she doing? Right. Think about that a lot. It's funny that you say that because I was thinking about that the other day, like because we eat gluten free. So
Oh,
I
okay.
I had made a gluten free gnocchi recipe the other day,
Hmm.
and that's on my blog too.
Okay,
Um,
great.
and the first time I made that recipe, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, my Nonna Tina is up there, like, oh, Diana, like what is she doing? Gluten
Yeah.
pasta, like what an oxymoron.
Right.
But I feel as though like there's so many people with gluten sensitivities nowadays, and
Hmm.
I know that my aunt, who was her daughter, she was celiac, and
Oh, yeah.
she's passed away now, but her last like decade was like really we had to be careful with everything needed to be gluten free. It got
Yeah.
her so sick, and I just
Right.
kept thinking like the way that we eat now as well, and this is a whole other topic, David, which I'm sure but like it's not harvested the same way that it used to be. It's not the same wheat that they used to eat,
Right. Right.
countryside, and it's just not. So
Yeah.
anything we could do to make it healthier, I think is a good thing. So that's how I talk myself down, like off that
Yeah.
cliff.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point because I'm sure the traditional in an Italian village there probably have a little mill with some locally produced
Yeah.
wheat and that sort of thing. I know there's a little bit of movement in local food to do that kind of thing now, but it's still probably a little harder to come by. So alternative products are probably the easiest solution for
Yeah.
anybody that's got an issue with that. Now, as we sort of alluded to, your focus is obviously some great cooking ideas, but you have some other ideas and other tips for embracing winter as we move into the season.
Yeah. So one of the things I had mentioned is I got very much into Chinese medicine, and
Hmm.
I always like to look at both Eastern and Western and kind of like marry those two together when
Yeah,
it comes to
yeah.
the approach to like everything really. I think we are really at a loss if we only look at one. So with
Hmm.
that in particular, I look at the Eastern side of eating per season, and winter in general is all about nourishing the kidneys in Chinese
Yeah,
medicine.
interesting.
Yeah. So in winter, in Chinese medicine, like they say, like your energy moves inward. And again, it makes so
Hmm.
much sense when you think about like what's going on outside your window
Right.
and what's going on in the body and how the body takes cues from nature. So winter is all about like your energy moving inward, preserving your energy. Everything is like slow and reflective, contemplative, and then the way that we eat, again, to nourish the kidneys and the kidney energy.
Hmm.
So in Chinese medicine, that's known as yin nourishing foods.
Okay.
So I like to put a lot of recipes on my site in the winter that kind of help that kidney energy.
Hmm.
Um, Even also in the way you prepare your food. So in the summer, that's very like big outward yang energy. And the summer
Yeah,
is a time for like raw foods you can tolerate more. Most people, obviously, I'm speaking in general, right?
sure.
Um, but barring like any allergies or things like that, most people can tolerate raw foods and things better in summertime when you have
Hmm.
all that energy freed up. But when
Hmm.
we go into winter, it's a really good idea to saute your vegetables or, gently cook your veggies and things like that. Your body has to work a little harder to process the raw foods. And
Hmm.
that's a time again where your energy is like kind of, hibernating if you want to say it like that. Um, so I kind of lean toward that when it comes to food as well. So what's in season, what's local at the farmer's market, and what does my body crave right now? What's good for my body this time of year?
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, are there examples of is it like ingredient specific when you talk about like things that are good for the kidney health, or is it more? categories of food that, I mean, you mentioned cooked versus raw. I don't know if there are any other specific kind of ingredients you lean into for that.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Um, in terms of like supporting your kidney energy in winter, yeah, there are actually specific foods that you can eat. So kidney nourishing foods in Chinese medicine, they again support your kidneys and your adrenals. So
Hmm.
they're often like warm, hearty foods that feel good for the body. So
Hmm.
examples are things like walnuts, chestnuts,
Yeah.
um, lentils. You know, I always like to say like lentils, you soak them first to kind of get
Hmm.
anti-nutrients out. I know some people have like a hard time with lentils because they're digestively hard, but
Yeah.
if you soak them first,
Mm.
that does away with like 95% of that, which is great. Um,
Hmm.
so things like avocado, cucumber, seafoods are really great in winter. So like sea bass, red snapper, tuna, shrimp are great for the winter time. Um, asparagus, carrots, all your potatoes, sweet
Yeah.
potatoes. Those are great. And then also for your meats, if you're a meat eater, grass-fed duck, lamb, chicken,
Hmm.
all your broths and your soups. There's like
Right.
so much we can do. Um, I actually also have a recipe on my site for a like a yin boosting winter smoothie. So if you are
Huh,
someone who
interesting.
still craves something cold,
Yeah.
um, spirulina is a really good thing that you can add to your smoothie, and that's
Hmm.
super mineral rich, and it's in Chinese medicine known to enhance yin energy and help like build the blood, which is really great
Okay.
for wintertime in general. But yeah, creamy soups, crock pot meals, anything like hearty is generally good for the body in winter.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And in addition to that sort of the nutritional aspects and the medical, the Eastern medicine aspects, it just sort of makes sense when you think about it. Like, like you use the term slowing down, like things in the summer because you're not cooking them are quick, quick. You don't want to put the oven on or anything like that, but it's welcomed. Yeah, I love like having a slow braise in the oven on a winter day, smelling 3, 4 hours of having all this good smells wafting through the house. It's definitely awesome. Yeah, cool. So I know from looking at your bio and some of the things you've said here today, you've got kind of a wide range of resources, both from specific recipes to kind of an overall approach. I don't know if you want to talk, maybe even, I was gonna, I often ask at this stage for, direct to a website, but maybe if you elaborate a little bit more, like what is on your website. I'm sensing maybe you have some educational pieces as well as the recipes. Maybe give people a little more of a sense of what they could find on your site. And I know you also have an author page I saw, so you have a few books out, some of which relate to this topic and some maybe less so. But yeah, so maybe give us an idea of some of the resources they can find through your work.
Sure. So on my site, it's livefortheseason.com. I have three main areas, which is recipes, which is probably my most, updated area.
Yeah.
Then there's body and mind, which is where I talk about like a lot of this Eastern medicine, Qigong type stuff, mindfulness things in the body and mind section. And then the third section is for the home, just as another outlet for a passion of mine, which is, home, setting your home up to feel good for the season that we're in. So I
Yeah.
find that like those three things are really, really all encompassing to kind of make like for a wholesome kind of all around health and wellness kind of vibe. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can find everything from healthy recipes on there to mindfulness techniques to again like just ways to kind of make your home reflect what's going on outside in a positive way because all those things
Hmm.
contribute to our overall health and well-being. Um, and I'm actually running it's called a Healthy Holiday Challenge. It's totally free. I'm running that. It starts on December 11th and it's going to run all the way through January 2nd. So it's basically very low commitment, but every day you get an email from me with like another healthful tip to kind of
Yeah.
help you get through like the stress and the chaos of the holiday season in a nourishing way.
Oh, that sounds very fun. So people can sign up for that on your website as well.
Yeah, so I have
Cool.
a post there, and you can also just sign up for my newsletter through my website, and
Hmm.
I'll also be sending out reminders for that.
That sounds great. Yeah, I like the approach. I can see, you know, from you obviously know a lot more about the Eastern philosophy and way than I do, but from what I do know, that kind of I do appreciate that kind of holistic approach to, your health and wellness and life in general that you get. So it is kind of seems like you have a nice set of resources for blending kind of some of that stuff with things that folks here in the States might be a little more familiar with in terms of foods and ways of doing things. So that's very cool. So it sounds like a great resource. So people can check out your site, and also we'll maybe get some links to some of the specific recipes that you mentioned to put in on the show notes. So definitely they should check it out and encourage them to give it a look. And I'll definitely, that challenge sounds fun. So it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Lots of great information. It sounds like it would maybe just scratch the surface, but that's part of the idea. A little appetizer for people to get the main course on your website.
Thank you. This was really nice chatting with you too.
Excellent. Well, have a good winter season. I know it sounds like you're ready for it.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Cook Local, Eat Local. To get the show notes with links for recipes and resources we covered today, go to cooklocaleatlocal.com to get the podcast landing page. And please be sure to subscribe to Cook Local, Eat Local wherever you get your podcasts. Make it a great day with some tasty local food on your plate.